Pleasant evening, everyone. My name is Lou Smith, and I bid you welcome to another Beyond the Headline program. Do stay with us. We want to give a special welcome to those of you who are joining us or following us through radio, K105, as the audio is carried live as usual. This evening, we're talking, of course, referendum. As you know by now, the writs have been issued by the Office of the Governor General, and it's now official that the referendum will take place on the 27th of October. And for those of you who are not yet registered, you have until sometime next week, I think it's the 4th of October, to do so, to be able to participate and vote in the referendum. Now, what do our young people think about the whole process? Some of them will be voting, or majority of them, I take it, will be voting for the very first time, or going to the polls for the very first time when we go to the polls in the referendum on the 27th. What do they think? That's what we try to find out and during the next hour or so. And just like to say good evening to them and ask each one to state his and her name, and we'll proceed from there. Let's start with the lady. The young lady. Let's tell us your name.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carolyn Curtin.
Okay. Hi, Carolyn. And the next.
Good night, everyone. My name is Neilon Franklin.
And no stranger to GPN's.
Well, good night, everyone. My name is Brandon Brathwaite. Today we, as members of the Radioactive Youth group, are going to share the perspective of how young people are looking at the bills, or whether or not we fully understand it, or the process is truly clear.
Okay. All right, we start what we're probably talking about the process. What do you understand by a referendum?
Well, Mr. Smith, a referendum is very straightforward. You know, it's simply a yes or no to a single question. Right about now, we're probably analyzing a referenda because of the fact that we are now presented 8 bills with, which contain many things under it, but everyone is entitled to say yes or no.
Okay.
Once able to vote. And we believe that, as a youth group and as young people have the power to influence what happens in this country, that we should actually be taking an active role in the process.
Okay, actually there's 7 bills.
7 bills, I'm sorry.
Except that you have at least one of the bills that have about 45
issues on it, right.
So as far as you're concerned, it's not just a referendum, it's more than that, it's a referendum.
Yeah, referendum.
Yeah, I mean, but earlier on we were speaking and making comparisons with other countries where they've had recent referendum, and it's always one issue. You feel a bit confused with the number of issues you have to deal with?
I mean, one can feel overwhelmed, first of all. Confused as well. But the main thing that you're getting from this is it's a lot of pressure on you as an individual, because not only are you bombarded with many things, most likely you don't understand all of them, and to leave that wrong yes or no on that ballot, and to probably live to see the consequences that will arise from that. It's a lot of pressure.
Neil, you want to add anything to that?
Well, the problem I see is that a lot of persons think it's just one thing, whereas you have a series of different things under each bill. And that is basically what we would like to address tonight. Well, one of the things that we would like to address tonight, that each of the 7 bills to be voted on have different amendments or a series of amendments on each one. And that people need to understand what they would be voting for.
Carolyn, you understand what you'll be voting for? You too will be voting for the first time, wouldn't you?
Yes, I will. I have an understanding as to the different parts to the bills, but I think the problem is that not much Grenadians know what exactly are in the bills, because it's not, some of the changes or the amendments that they want to make are not straightforward, so that not the everyday man can understand it, because I myself are having problems, though I am a child myself, but if I can understand it and I'm a young adult in society, what would happen to those who can't read or write? I think that they should make it simpler, bring it down to simpler terms, and for everyone to understand it, because not everyone knows what exactly the referendum is, or the referenda, as it's more than one.
Okay.
And also that some persons in society has it as a politicalized event, when in fact it's not affecting this present political party, but us ourselves, because it is making changes to the Constitution, which is the supreme law of the land. It's not like, okay, NMP's having it here now, we voting because it's NMP. No. We're voting as they have taught us in the different discussions and the different events they have trying to educate us in society. It's affecting us today, our children, our grandchildren, and generations to come.
Okay. All right, let's look at one of the bills that you folks wanted to touch on will be ballot paper number 4.
So, upon analyzing bill number 4, we came to the conclusion that the bill, all bills, when weighing it, have their advantages and disadvantages.
But probably I should remind viewers and listeners, this bill seeks to amend the Constitution to authorize Parliament to establish a particular day of a particular month after a fixed number of years, which must not exceed 5 years, following any dissolution of Parliament. However, Parliament may be dissolved sooner than the fixed date if there is a successful no confidence motion in the government. Carry on.
Okay, so that bill with the 5 years, we believe that from analyzing that, it makes sense. We live in a democratic society, and at the end of the day, we choose to put these leaders in position. And they are given a term which they are to serve out in the best interests of the country, because of course they were elected for that purpose. What we disagreed with or felt that could have been, relooked at from when we measure it because of the scale was the term limits associated with the Prime Minister. In the other bill, the bill right after this, actually, it looked at, right here it says, the Constitution of Grenada, term of office of Prime Minister, Amendment, Bill 2016. The bill would amend the Constitution to provide for term limits on a person serving as Prime Minister. Henceforth, no person would be appointed Prime Minister if he or she has previously served 3 consecutive terms. Now, upon looking at this, we see that the main reason for even bringing up this term limit was through a comparison of bigger countries. We look at the fact that in the United States of America, the president only runs for 2 terms, serving 8 years, and that's it. But how we look at it now, right now in Grenada, limiting those terms is not feasible as we see it, because probably the political interests within society, within Grenada, is not as rich as it would be in comparison to bigger countries, which have, the amount of resources to probably produce people who are interested in this, to get into the arena of politics. We don't see that as young people, as understanding ourselves. We understand that we are to soon be future leaders of the country, and understanding the interest of politics, where we are involved in politics. Is there enough political interest to generate people to serve for this limited time, and then we have enough to refresh? Do we have that? That was the main question that we were, wanting to pose towards this bill.
Am I to understand, if I come to you, Neil, on that, this, as Brandon is saying, this whole question about the term limit is not a good thing. or you don't support, you as the young people don't support it because, as he says, can we produce? Do we have the caliber of people to serve as prime ministers to be changing so often?
In addition to what he said, well, what Brandon said, the reason we as young people don't support this bill to its fullest extent is that if you look at the situation in which we are in as a country, where when one political party is voted out, permit me to say, and a new one comes in, instead of us building on what that previous political party would have done or that previous government would have done, we tend to start over. As a small nation, we do not have the adequate resources for this to continue happening in the years to come. And I believe that the term of office of the Prime Minister should not be limited to 3 terms. And one thing that we observed is that the word consecutive, 3 consecutive terms mean one after the other. One question that we have is that if we tend to make it kind of technical, if one prime minister were to serve 2 terms in office and decides he would not run for a 3rd term the following election and decides to run after that term, what would happen? Would the state prevent him or her from running? Or if he has run for one term, and then decides to run after the following election.
But let me see if I'm getting it right. If the Prime Minister runs, does 2 terms and decides to sit out the next one and comes back the 3rd, I mean, you can't stop him from doing that as far as I understand it. But would it be considered consecutive?
Would it? Yeah,
exactly.
That's the main question.
Would it be considered consecutive? And if he decides to run 2 terms after that sit-out term, would he be prevented from?
Okay, so that's an issue there. Okay, we can. You want to make any comments on that, Carolyn?
No.
Okay, but as an issue, I know if we will move on, you wanted to deal with the particular one of the bills. You want to take it up now?
Yes. It's dealing with the.
Tell us the number of the one you want to deal with. I don't think I made a note of
It's
it.
under the fundamental rights and freedoms. Dealing with the protection of children and their welfare.
Okay.
Okay, 2 points are made here. The right to public funded education, right? All children up to 16 years of age have the right to public funded education in publicly owned institutions. They also made a point that children with special needs, all children with disabilities to 18 years of age have the right to public funded education in accordance with their special needs up to 18 years of age. Now, in amending the fundamental rights and freedom, they're also trying to promote equality and stop discrimination. Now, within that same section with the protection of child, it says that a child is a child and all children are equal, right? And here they are for education, free education, from public institutions. You're a child up to the age of 18. But here they are allowing some, well, I would like to say, the able bodies up to the age of 60. Now, I asked that question, and in answers from various persons in society who are associated with it, they have told me that they came to that age for the able bodies because majority of them finished age of 16 with secondary school. Now, what will happen to those at 17 and 18? I was told that they'll make the necessary arrangement for them to continue with the free public education. But my concern is that, okay, you'll make the necessary arrangement, but is it written within the law on the subsection? Because suppose in the future they want to take the law literally. It's not written, so they could call on them to pay for the education because it states up to the age of 16 legally. So my concern is like, would they have it as an act or would they just leave it on the side? because it affects us. And if I have a child, right? Suppose I have a child, one able and one disabled. I don't have to worry about my disabled child receiving education up to the age of 18, whether they're a slow learner or not. While my able child, may he or she be a slow learner and have to repeat 1 or 2 grades or forms, finishing school at the age of 18. If hard time comes and they decide to go the literal way of the law, I will have to pay, because it's not written, I might have to pay for the education.
All right, I see what you mean. So you really, if I get you right, feel that either it is written in or the age limit be the same?
Yes, because I noticed that they believe, okay, because they're disabled, give them something extra because they're disabled. But you're trying to create a situation of equality. And a child is a child, and children are equal. Bring it up to 18, and I don't have a problem with assistance to the disabled because they will need the assistance.
Okay. Anyone have any comments on that? I know that's a pet. It's pet there. All right. Bill number 1. Bill number 1 is another of those bills that I think that interests you, the group. The bill seeks to amend the Constitution, 1, by substituting the Caribbean Court of Justice as the final court of appeal for Grenada instead of the Privy Council, to call the Supreme Court in Grenada the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court instead of the Supreme Court of Grenada and the West Indies Associated States, and 3, to entrench a code of conduct as a constitutional provision in order to minimize corruption among public officers, and 4, to entitle public officials when taking office to swear allegiance to the state of Grenada instead of to Her Majesty, her heirs and successors.
So, right, under this, the issues under this, we looked at to establish a code of conduct for persons holding public office. All of this was included under the bill, and that is the next thing that is not known widely across the public, who are soon next month, we're almost a month away about now, away from going to the polls, and people don't understand the amount of things that are under certain bills. So we were looking at things like, we applaud the bill for looking at issues such as deleting references to the Supreme Court of Grenada and the West Indies Associated States, because these things are no longer in existence. They are no longer there. So it is taking out unnecessary language from our Constitution. But when we look at things like establish a code of conduct, and this is for persons holding public office, and persons holding public office would be forced to conduct themselves in a very special way so as not to bring down the office in any way. But when we look at the previous bill that we were just talking, what Carolyn was talking about, when we look at the fundamental rights of a person, what is this code of conduct that we are to uphold upon, reaching the status of office or the position of office? Because you have, everyone is entitled to their culture, their religion. So would I be entitled to shape myself within the office due to the code of conduct? What exactly is the code of conduct? Where is it stated? All of these are issues that we were looking at. In moving to the Caribbean Court of Justice, we highlight it as a quick method of getting issues resolved, because citizens have complained about the cost to reach to the Privy Council, the time that issues sometimes take to be resolved upon reaching there. And it's, bringing that whole sense, we are the Caribbean. So having that Caribbean Court of Justice, it's not only as a quick, resolution to problems, but it empowers us as a section of the world.
Okay. You have no concerns with people, like some people have expressed concerns about political interference, of the possibility of political interference, particularly in the society, in this region where we are small, very small.
Right.
We had a few million people. You don't have any concerns with that?
Well, I believe politics will be, no matter,
Okay.
we will never run away from politics.
Just
So-
before we take the break, I just want to draw your attention. It says to entitle public office officials when taking office to swear allegiance to the state of Grenada instead of to Her Majesty or heirs and successors. Well, are you telling me, therefore, we may have to change again because people vote in favor of the state being called Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit
Exactly.
Martinique?
Yes, we will
And
have
you're
to.
coming there to tell me to vote on a thing, and you say I must swear
Grenada?
allegiance to the state of Grenada, which it is right now.
Right now. So what are we voting? We can't vote for the Carriacou, Grenada, and Petit Martinique if we're voting for the state of Grenada, and then Carriacou, Petit Martinique come through. So then what are we really
All right.
voting for?
We take a short break here, but don't you go away. There's more when we return.